This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm so glad to say I'm not joined by Bob Arum on Zoom. I'm joined by him in person here in Las Vegas. A huge fight week, ESPN Plus, pay-per-view in the States, and of course live on Sky Sports as well, not on pay-per-view, for Crawford v Porter. How excited are you, Bob?
It's terrific. And, you know, I love when we are able to do a fight that's a major fight like Crawford against Porter, but surrounded with very, very good, interesting fights because it gives us the ability to showcase the talent in the sport of boxing.
Absolutely. And Terence Crawford, a lot of people saying this is his toughest test to date at any weight he's fought at. Do you go along with that, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, when has Porter ever given an opponent an easy fight? Never. You know, I mean, a break here and there and he would be undefeated.
Absolutely. What kind of fight are you expecting, especially from Sean Porter this weekend, for him to bring the heat?
Yeah, that's all that he does. That's how he knows how to fight.
Bob, it's a massive fight here in the States and globally. How many buys do you think this does on the ESPN Plus pay-per-view?
I really don't know. I mean, ESPN is doing a great job presenting the fight to the public, including the 19 million subscribers to ESPN Plus. So I'm very optimistic. But it would be really a reach for me to make a prediction on the number of buys. But I think we're going to do very well.
And as I said, it's not on pay-per-view in the UK, live on Sky Sports, the biggest platform for sports in the UK. So that's great for UK boxing fans.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we have signed a contract with Sky Sports, and it's working very well, making available to them some great fights from over here in the United States, and next year we'll be doing some fights across the pond, including Josh Taylor Catterall in Glasgow.
Should Terence Crawford be successful this Saturday night, what are the plans for him, Bob?
Well, I think that I had dinner last night with Josh Taylor, who's in the United States with Ben Davidson, and Josh says after Catterall he wants to go up and fight Crawford, and that'd make a hell of a fight.
That really would. Yeah, how was that dinner with Josh? You told me about that last night, and obviously Ben Davidson was there as well.
It was terrific. They're nice people. We enjoyed ourselves, and one thing I always take them to SW Restaurant at the Wynn, and they said what everybody says, that they've never tasted steaks as good.
Yeah, I went to the gym this morning, the top-ranked gym. I was talking to Josh. He said it's one of the best Wagyu steaks he's ever had.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Bob, in terms of pay-per-view, let's go back to that. We're seeing a lot of pay-per-views in this country recently. Of course, Eddie Hearn has said that he believes pay-per-view is going to die soon, that the $80 price point is a lot, paying $80 each time for a pay-per-view. What's your thoughts on the whole pay-per-view situation, especially in the States?
Well, with all due respect, Eddie doesn't understand the U.S. market, because in the United States, people don't generally watch a pay-per-view fight by themselves or with their wives. They watch it as a group with 8, 10 people, and when you look at it that way, the price point is not that great. I mean, people use the pay-per-view here to make parties, entertain, and that's why the price is much lower in the UK, but they don't advertise it as a way to entertain in your home, right? And So it's a different market, and maybe one day Eddie will learn how this market works.
Okay, let's move on to the WBC Convention. So let's start with Dillon Whyte and the situation with Tyson Fury. A lot of us were expecting that fight to be ordered, but because of his legal case with the WBC, that will not be the case. That fight hasn't been ordered. What was your initial reaction to that, Bob?
Well, that was the right decision. How can you order something when you're getting sued and the matter is in arbitration? So I think the WBC carefully laid it out. Now, look, I talked to Tyson this morning, and we discussed it plainly. If Joshua steps aside, Tyson's happy to fight Usyk. If Joshua doesn't step aside, and it's completely up to Joshua, that's his contract, then Tyson said, why not Dillon Whyte? And we would then go ahead and proceed and make a fight between Fury and Whyte. Doesn't have to be a mandatory, doesn't have to be anybody ordering. It's a good fight for Tyson Fury. And we'll be talking to the Dillon Whyte people. And they have to realize it's sometimes better, most of the times better, to do things voluntarily than to force a particular fight.
There was talk about an 80-20 split if that fight was ordered in a mandatory situation. Eddie said that's outrageous. Obviously 80 in favour to Tyson Fury, 20 to Dillon Whyte. What do you think about that?
Well, that's the way the rules are. Dillon Whyte's, you take the purses that Fury has gotten in his last 3 fights, and you take the purses that Dillon Whyte has gotten, and you compare them, and if you did the percentages, it probably should be 90-10, but you don't go lower than 80-20. I mean, if Eddie doesn't like the rules, then he should have been at the convention arguing for new rules. But don't, after the facts, start talking about what's outrageous, what's not outrageous. The rules are the rules.
Okay. If it isn't Alexander Usyk, let's say Joshua and Usyk have their rematch. If it isn't Dillon Whyte, what are the other options? Joyce still in the hat?
Yeah, Joyce fights under the aegis of Frank Warren, who's the co-promoter with me of Tyson Fury, and that would make a very, very good fight. But I think the preference would be to do the fight with Dillon Whyte, and hopefully we'll be able to come to terms if the Joshua thing doesn't change.
Are you going to have conversations with Matchroom and Eddie and to say, why don't you step aside, and then perhaps Joshua can get the winner, maybe put that in a contract?
Look, it makes no sense to discuss it with Eddie Hearn. Joshua is an adult. He appears to me to be a very intelligent young man, and he'll make his own decision as to whether he wants to step aside or go right into an Usyk fight. I would think, if I was advising Joshua, that he's better off to do a step aside and then fight the winner. But I'm not Joshua, and I've never talked to Joshua in my life, and so it's up to him. But again, it's not up to Eddie Hearn. It's up to Joshua.
And in terms of Dillon Whyte, will you make an offer to them?
If the Joshua fight, Joshua does not step aside, of course we'll try to make a Fury-Whyte fight. If the numbers are okay, we'll go ahead and do the fight. Frank for Queensberry and ourselves for Top Rank, and look forward to doing the fight in the UK, because I think for all the success that Tyson Fury has had in the United States, he owes it to the British public to do a fight in the UK. And also, the truth is, the fight fans in the United States don't even know Dillon Whyte. I mean, let's be honest about it. They never know who he is.
Also at the convention, we saw that Canelo will be moving up to cruiserweight to fight Lunga Makabu. WBC have approved that. What do you think about Canelo jumping up to cruiserweight, Bob?
Yeah, Canelo is Canelo. I mean, when you're the king, you can do what you want. It seems like it's a big step up. But Eddie Reynoso is a very, very smart boxing guy, and so is Canelo. And they feel that Canelo can beat this guy. I've never seen him fight. I don't know who he is. I know he holds the BC title. So you got to respect guys like Eddie Reynoso and Canelo. They know what they're doing. They've certainly done well up to now.
Are you disappointed they didn't look at the option at 175 with your guy, PayPerView?
No, because I think PayPerView will always be there. He has a tough fight with Marcus Brown on January 15th. I think it's January 15th. No, I'm sorry. December 17th, isn't it? Yeah, in Montreal. So, again, I'm optimistic that Canelo will eventually call us to fight PayPerView. But again, it's up to Canelo. You're talking not dreamers in Reynoso and Canelo, but really smart boxing guys.
You mentioned January 15th there. It's been touted for Joe Smith Jr. and Callum Johnson. Is that likely to happen, Bob?
That is happening. No, that's done. I talked to Frank this morning, and that'll take place in Verona, New York, at the Turning Stone Casino, which is right outside of Syracuse. And that two real bangers, that should be a hell of a fight.
It definitely will be. Bob, yesterday you announced 3 fantastic signings, Richard Torres Jr. and the Davis brothers, Keyshawn and Kelvin. Talk me through that.
I mean, it's like a dream come true. There were 5 U.S. Olympians, and we were able to sign all 5. Keyshawn Davis is a phenomenal talent and a great personality. And Richard Torres will, I think, remind people that heavyweights don't have to be like Tyson is, 6'9", to compete in the heavyweight division. He's a very smart kid and a very good fighter and a big puncher. And I thought both Keyshawn and Richard Torres won their final matches for the gold medal in Tokyo. I really believe that, watching the fights, but I wasn't there, and the judges decided otherwise.
Yeah, 3 fantastic signings there. Just to close off, Bob, last question. We saw Eddie Hearn won the purse bids for your guy, Michael Conlan, and Lee Wood. Just talk to me about that situation in terms of your bidding for that fight.
Well, again, we bid on that fight knowing that Sky wasn't interested in that fight. But we were willing, because we love Michael Conlan, to do that fight. Eddie is going to do the fight on DAZN in the UK, and the fight will get on, and he stepped up to the plate and bid more money than we did, so he's going to do that fight. It's, I think, a good fight. I don't know much about Lee Wood, but it gives Michael the shot to win the title, and I'm all for that. So I wish him luck on the fight. I think it should do well, whether the fight's in England or in Northern Ireland.
Bob, Arum, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Look forward to a fantastic night on Saturday, Crawford live on ESPN Plus here, and obviously back in the UK on Sky Sports. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.